There are two manager-level employees in front of you. And let's say you have to decide who should be promoted to executive position. A. This person has achieved great sales results. However, the internal evaluation is not good. He is a person who is criticized for forcing his team up to limit to get the results. B. This person has yet show impressive results and does not have much experience in the field. However, overall reviews are not bad. Who should be promoted to executive position? Surely, it is an A? Or should we see potential and promote B? Here is today's topic: potential. In 1969, a book published by educators Lawrence Peter and Raymond Hull in the United States gained great popularity. This book, called The Peter Principle, can be summarized in one sentence. Every employee tends to rise to his level of incompetence. It means that all employees are promoted until their incompetence is revealed. In a way, it's a natural thing. If you show your ability in a certain field and get promoted, you will eventually reach a stage where your ability doesn't work, and you won't be promoted beyond that. This book has resonated with many people for two reasons. First, people can get an explanation that why my boss was incompetent. In particular, why a competent person becomes incompetent after being promoted. The second point is, it shows the promotional dilemma. If we choose performance result as a criteria for promotion, we will see person who does not have ability as a manager to get promoted. Who is the person growing up? Since this book released in 1969, you may think it is a book that fits the era in which the vertical organization system is universal. Now, most organizations, including companies, have changed horizontally, and the larger the company, the more systematic it is to nurture talent. But I think the reason why the Peter Principle still attracts people's attention is because they are all interested in the importance of potential and growth. How can we avoid the Peter Principle? From an individual point of view, you just have to keep growing. On the other hand, if you look at it from the perspective of HR, it becomes a problem to find and nurture people with potential. A phenomenon similar to the Peter Principle is also occurring in startups. In a startup composed of a small number of people, talented founders and early members become increasingly incompetent as the company receives investment and the organization grows. During this process, some early members leave the company. In Silicon Valley, startup founders who are about to go public often step down as CEO. So, who has potential? Claudio Fernandez Araoz, a senior advisor at Egan Zehnder, an executive headhunting company, wrote an article titled 21st Century Talent Spotting in the Harvard Business Review in 2014. Through this very famous article, he argues that the talent of the 21st century is a person with potential. Let's listen directly to him through a virtual interview.
Hello, Araoz. You've been in executive headhunting for over 30 years, since 1986. Why do you think people with potential are needed in the 21st century?
In the past, there was a time when the ability and professionalism of executives were important. But now the world is changing too fast, so the ability to learn quickly and change quickly is important. As an example of a man with potential, I cite Pedro Algorta, a survivor of a plane crash in the Andes in 1972.
Plane crash in the Andes, I remember too. When I was young, I watched a movie called Alive which is based on it.
What a terrible accident. A plane carrying Pedro Algorta and his university rugby team crashed in the Andes Mountains in 1972. 6 of the 45 people on board were rescued after 72 days in the snow-covered mountains.
Survivors say they survived by eating the bodies died first. That scene was so shocking when I was young.
Yes, I went to Stanford University MBA with Pedro Algorta. I recommended him as the manager of a beer company in Argentina. He had no prior experience in the consumer goods industry or marketing. However, he was quickly promoted in the beer company and later promoted to the CEO of Argentina's #1 beer brand.
How do you find people with potential?
After meeting numerous executives, I think the biggest condition for potential is motivation. People with potential are dedicated to excellence in a goal. That goal is not a selfish goal like your own success. The goal he set is a grand goal that many people can look at together. He is always humble and invests in doing well. Most people are not conscious of this, but I think motivation is the most important condition for potential.
Are there any other characteristics identify people with potential?
The first is curiosity. People with potential seek out new experiences, knowledge, and aren't afraid of honest feedback. The second is insight. People with potential have the ability to gather information and discover new possibilities from it.
What about the third one?
Engagement. People with potential can convince others through emotion, logic, and vision. And the fourth is strong will, determination. People with potential take on difficult challenges and rise again in the face of adversity.
Thank you for joining us today.
What is the force that make people to move? The explanation that the power to move a person is the most important element of potential can be found in other articles. University of London Business Psychology professor Tomás Chamorro Premusic points out the most important factor for potential among ability, sociality is drive. Ability and sociability can be innate talents, but it is the driving force that multiplies them. He explains drive can be measured by a person's persistence, motivation, and ambition. A person's behavior can also tell you how strong a person is, such as doing what is given to them to the best of their ability, willingly accepting new tasks and responsibilities. People who do, sometimes sacrificing themselves in the process, can be seen as having a strong driving force. He wanted to live a normal life. In fact, Pedro Algorta was not a hero among them. 16 survivors. After 60 days of isolation, 2 of the 16 people risked their lives down the mountain. The 2 of them walked for 10 days to reach the place where there were people. They were heroes who saved the rest of the people, but Pedro Algorta remained there, helping others and encouraging them not to lose hope. It is said that his career as a manager and as a leader was similar. He did not restructure the company ruthlessly and did not have the knack for good sales. But he says he helped people and created an atmosphere where they could work for themselves. Each person has a different leadership, and I found my leadership there, he said. Pedro Algorta spent his entire life hiding that he was a survivor in the Andes. He wanted to live a normal life. Although he had an extreme experience that nobody would have, his life did not change. He graduated from college, got a job, got married and raised his children. Then there was an important moment when he began to speak about his own experience. Why did he break the silence? More than 30 years after the incident, he and his wife went to the spot in the Andes where the plane crashed. There, he met a woman and she said to Pedro,
"My only son took his own life. Nevertheless, I am alive because I think of you who did not give up hope."
For the first time, he gets the idea that his experiences can be courageous to others. And little by little he started telling his story to other people. He had a very strong motivation in him. As he became motivated to help others, he was able to change. After breaking his 30 years of silence, he began to stand up in front of people and tell them about his experiences. He's there to give courage to people in deep despair. He said, "I just survived my most desperate moments with courage. You can too. Life goes on." Who should be promoted? The balance game mentioned at the beginning. Have you made up your mind now? First of all, it is said that promoting executives based on individual sales performance is not a very good method. The ability to be good at sales and the ability to manage people as a manager are completely different. Therefore, it is said that it is good to give financial compensation for person. But what if A's performance comes from a team level, and people's rating of A's comes from sources that aren't 100% reliable? Now, I think the balance between A and B is a bit right. In order for the person we promoted to not fall into the Peter's principle, I think we need to see what kind of driving force the two persons have when they rises to a high position. Are you active in learning and changing? Can you convince others and guide them in the right direction? Are you humble, honest, or selfish? Between A and B, I think we should promote the one with that ability. From the perspective of organizational culture, I think it is important to nurture the motivation and driving force of employees. The more you work for yourself, the more likely you are able to reach your potential. I think this is why many companies are trying to match the so-called alignment, in which the direction employees pursue and the direction the organization pursues coincide. Thank you for watching my video.